Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, my friends. It is Wednesday, April the 10th. It is Hump Day, which means, of course, that it is time for Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. And oh my word, what a week it has been. On Monday, the once-in-a-lifetime solar eclipse passed through eastern Canada, making some of my favourite towns and cities in this beautiful region, putting them on the world map. I mean, pretty much from the first time since probably, the glory hole scandal of the pandemic. I had friends from all over the UK and all over the States messaging me saying, "Oh my goodness, you live in the place where the solar eclipse is passing through. You are getting the path of totality on April the 8th. And sure enough, I mean, we had people flocking to our region from all over the world. I was highly blessed to be in Florenceville, Bristol, in the district of Carlton North, to witness the solar eclipse in one of the best spots in the path of totality. Darkness did indeed fall for, I would say, 3.5 to 4 minutes. An absolutely mind-blowingly spectacular experience. I honestly can't describe it. It's so weird, the fact that I guess in our lifetimes we've all lived through genuinely momentous historical events, but how many of them have actually been positive? You know, when you look at them, it's, when I look at the historical events that kind of stand out for better or worse, it's, the death of Princess Diana, 9/11. Certainly in the UK, there's the 7/7 terrorist attacks, the pandemic. It's all tragedies, and yet suddenly, finally, we get a once-in-a-lifetime moment in history that occurs that is just sheer joy and momentous, and the magnitude of it is not lost on anyone. And the experience was truly. I don't think I've ever really experienced anything like it, just being in the street as this happens. I was in Florenceville, Bristol, as I said. I was actually, there was lots of different spots to watch it. Lots of people were watching it from outside the beautiful new Amsterdam Inn Hotel, where a balloon was going up. And I know the Colonel Chris Hadfield, who I was doing a show with later that night, was witnessing it from there. The organisers of the event were obviously worried about traffic. So because I was on first, they said, look, you're going to need to be near the arena where the gig is. So we actually found the perfect spot. And that was one of my favourite cafes, bars, restaurants anywhere in the world, which is on the boardwalk. An absolutely glorious restaurant on Main Street in Florenceville, Bristol, designed actually by a St. John-based architecture firm, Acre Architects, who do incredible work, not just beautiful work, but also philanthropic work and affordable housing work. Stephen and Monica, amazing architects. Check out their work, but definitely go to On the Board. We sat there and watched it, my wife and I and our children, and it was incredible. I have waited, I think as I mentioned on last week's podcast, 25 years for this moment, because in 1999, my family and I, we travelled for 4 hours, drove for 4 hours to go to Cornwall in the UK to watch the solar eclipse, then much hyped as it was here. And we travelled 4 hours, and then, of course, everyone was worried, will our eyes be protected? Our eyes were perfectly protected thanks to the god-awful British weather. It was overcast, it was grey, it was cloudy, it was foggy. And yet, on Monday, we were blessed with the most glorious weather. I was out in the morning. Any of you that watched my TikTok live or Instagram live videos, I mean, I was literally outside the Amsterdam Inn, walking around in a T-shirt, blue skies, sun beating down. Oddly, though, there was still snow and ice on the ground. I'm slipping on ice while in a T-shirt, potentially sunbathing. If something doesn't sum up New Brunswick better than that, I don't know what does. So I've got a lot to talk about the solar eclipse, and maybe you're bored of talking about the solar eclipse now. So I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it later in the podcast, because first I would like to ramble, if I may, about the weekend I had prior to what was one of the best days of my life. And I feel almost guilty saying this, but you know what? I've had a bad few weeks. I had the best weekend of my life, or certainly one of the best weekends of my life, right before one of the best days of my life. My son and father-in-law and I took a bus tour to Montreal to watch the Toronto Maple Leafs play the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night at the Bell Centre. It was our first NHL game. We planned it about 10 months ago. My wonderful mother-in-law, Wilhelmina, I think spotted this on Facebook. It was a company called Dream Vacation Tours. And the deal was, as with a bus, you know how a bus tour works, but basically it's an all-in deal. Bus picks you up in Fredericton. It starts in PEA. It picks you up in Fredericton, drives you to Montreal. You get a hotel. You get a tour of the city. They take you to the Montreal Canadiens training ground, and you get the ticket for the big game. We arrived on Thursday. The smoothest bus ride, amazing driver, Derek. Shout out to Derek. This bus tour company, I've got to tell you, it's my first time ever doing a bus tour. I wouldn't say I was cynical about them, but it wasn't something that I'd ever even really considered doing before. I am a convert through and through. Maybe I'm not a convert per se. What I am is a Dream Vacation Tours convert. And I should point out, this is not a promotion. I'm not being paid to say this. This is not like, this wasn't some kind of deal. We bought and paid for tickets. I'm just telling you about my legitimate experience. That's what I always do. I'm not for sale, people. I am for sale. You want to buy me? I'm available if you want to throw me stuff. But basically, this is a legitimate hand on heart, personal experience. I was cynical about the idea of, being on a bus with millions of other people, and, you pay an all-in price, and it's such an incredible deal. You think, okay, what kind of flea pit, bed bug, shit house are we going to be staying in? Oh my God. It was absolutely, the bus was beautiful and clean. Our tour guide, Debbie, was just amazing. An incredible atmosphere on the bus. We get to Montreal. We're staying at this beautiful hotel. I believe it was the Sheraton. Is it the Sheraton? I think it was the Sheraton. Anyway, it was a Marriott. It was a Bonvoy hotel. Absolutely gorgeous. And I just couldn't believe what an incredible deal it was. And all these things that I thought would be a problem. Like when we pulled up in this coach, there's like 60 of us on the bus. Oh my God, check-in's going to take forever. Somehow you walk in, they've just got the key cards there, door keys ready to go. And unlike most hotels, the door keys actually worked. Yeah, you don't have to go through that indignity of lugging your bag up get to the 50th floor, and after a long day's traveling, and the key card doesn't work, and you go down, the key card doesn't work, and they go, did you put it near your phone? None of that bollocks. Everything worked perfectly. Because we got there on Thursday, we then bought tickets to go to the Tampa Bay and Canadiens game. My father-in-law is a Montreal Canadiens fan for life. My son, 13 years old, Hunter, is a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I'm obviously Switzerland. I'm neutral. So they're wearing their jerseys. And I should point out my son is wearing his Toronto Maple Leafs jersey to a Canadiens Tampa Bay game. I, to be neutral, wore my hockey jersey for Zellers. That's right. I was rocking a Zellers hockey jersey. As we are walking into the Bell Centre on the Thursday night, having, got up at whatever it was, 5 a.m., taking the bus. But again, the bus was so luxurious that, you've kind of rested all day. You're fine. You're ready to go. As we walk into the Bell Centre, a ticket tout, what do you call them here? Not a tout, that's the English word. A scalper. A scalper outside. He's like, tickets, anyone looking for tickets? Tickets. He sees my Zellers jersey. And he goes, Zellers. He goes, I've been doing this job 30 years and I have never seen that before. I have not seen that in 30 years, right? Which made me very proud. I thought, yeah, I've made this guy's day. He's made my day. Lovely. And then another scalper actually approached my son, who was, again, wearing a Maple Leaf jersey to a Canadiens and Tampa Bay game. And he came up and he was like, what the F is that? Having a go. I must admit, I got quite curious about the whole ticket tout scalper business. Because it's a funny thing to me how scalpers have a bad reputation. People talk about them like they're scum, don't they? They're like, the scalpers are the worst, and they, drive up ticket prices and bloody bar. And so obviously companies like Ticketmaster and performers like Taylor Swift have introduced, flexible pricing and resale of tickets on their websites and blah, 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 blah. But basically what they're saying is, to combat the touts, we have become the touts or scalpers. To combat the scalpers, we have become the scalpers. And I'm amazed that, again, as a society, we have just basically accepted this. Because basically what they're saying is, we don't want hardworking, ordinary, working class men, and I'm not being sexist, but it is predominantly men I see selling tickets outside venues on the streets. Tickets. I don't think I've ever seen a woman doing it. So anyway, let's just, again, there we go. There's the problem with scalpers. It's a inherently sexist industry that is not allowing women to get a foot in the door. There's a glass ceiling. There's a glass ceiling in the scalper business game. Anyway, I don't fully understand I don't fully understand the economics of it anyway. But correct me if I'm wrong. I do understand why people don't like scalpers. They say, the tickets go on sale and they snap them all up, and then real fans can't get them, etc., etc. But isn't that like how business works? Like, isn't that how business works? People buy things for cheap and then they sell them for more. Like, is a grocery store inherently evil because they're selling the bread to us for more than what they bought it for? Why is it that if it's a individual male business person, male or female, or they, whatever, I've never quite understood what, and maybe someone can please write in and comment or let me know, because again, I'm an idiot and I'm always happy to be corrected, and half the time I'm just like, so I've gone on a major tangent here about this. I'm really curious about it. So what I don't understand is how the scalper business works, because these guys are outside like minutes before game time or show time or whatever it is, and they're going tickets. They've got stacks of tickets, and you think, okay, so how does this work? So you've gone and bought a load of tickets on the day they went on sale, say for $100, whatever a ticket is, $50, and now you've got to sell it for a bit more. But aren't you left with loads of tickets? And obviously, I understand if you secure a Taylor Swift ticket, that ticket is inevitably going to go up because the show's going to be sold out in 5 minutes. But in these other events and games, when there's just like dozens of these kind of burly men saying, "Oh, so going tickets," and going up to people in Zellers shirts saying, "In 35 years, I've never seen that." I don't really get where the profit lies. That again, I don't get it. So anyway, it's interesting that we bought our tickets. We were going to buy one from a scalper, but again, I was nervous. I thought, well, what if you buy the tickets? And it's so this was for the Thursday night, the Saturday night game, the Canadians and Maple Leafs. That was included in the Dream Vacation. So I bought mine from a scalper known as Ticketmaster, which they call official resale. That's their phrase for their scalping. To combat the scalpers, we've become the scalper, and we accept that. I personally would rather give my money to a guy, ordinary working class man who's putting his money on the line and profits on the line and taking a chance and out there on the streets pounding the pavement, rather than some billionaire Ticketmaster owner or billionaire NHL or billionaire musician. I would rather give it to the man on the street, personally. Anyway, maybe someone can tell me the difference. Maybe someone can tell me that why we detest this group of people, but not the people at the top. And again, this kind of fluctuating ticket price thing. I mean, that is just greed, is it not? When Shania Twain, notices that there's a surge in ticket sales in Moncton, and so the prices quadruple, and it goes from $200 to $1,000. Is that not a bit of greed? And why is, anyway? Point being, we go in and so it was our first NHL game. I think for all of us, so it was certainly me. It was the first time my father-in-law had seen his team, Montreal Canadiens, in the Bell Centre, and for me and my son, it was our first. I mean, what an incredible atmosphere! It just, absolutely blew me away. And again, just the organisation at the Bell Centre, like, again, not naming names, but having been to recent live events in significantly smaller venues where you stand in line for close to 2 hours just to get through the door and miss half the show, to see 20,000 people and all going through security barriers and all having the tickets checked, bang, you're all in there. Also, respect to the, once you're in there, the way you can move around. In, again, the venue to which I was referring a moment ago, I went into a beer area at a show. I went, again, I don't want to slag off venues, least of all local venues. So I'm not going to name names, but I went to a venue a few weeks ago to see a hockey game at a arena near where I live. And I went into what was like a nice bar area that had been set up, like a kind of local, a brewery maybe that is maybe in the city, in which, close to where I live, let's say. And ordered a can of beer. I'm standing there drinking it. Anyway, so then the game starts. So I go to leave this little area in this significantly smaller arena near where I live to go to my seat. And I'm told, no, you can't leave with that. And well, of course, again, the small town, don't argue. This is the thing. Small towns just put up with all manner of shit because, no, you can't complain about anything because if you do, it's like, oh, so-and-so was kicking off. So, of course, I go, okay, so, lose that kind of bit. Can someone explain to me why you cannot move from one area of an arena that sells a local beer to another, to your seat, basically? I mean, and I've never understood this. Is there people sneaking? Is there people buying tickets for hockey events or live events in an arena to pay 5 times what they would spend in a liquor store to buy a can of beer, and then smuggling out this open can, which again, the opening thing I've never understood either. This whole, like, oh, I need to open them. You want to buy 3 beers? I've got to open all 3. Why? Is there someone... Is there again, maybe this is another part of the scalping business I don't understand. Are there people buying tickets, expensive tickets for shows and sporting events to buy ridiculously jacked up, overpriced cans of beer they can buy round the corner a minute away for 1/5 of the price, buying them and smuggling them out? Is that a big concern? Why do all the cans have to be opened? Never understood it. Anyway, you can't go from here to there, I was told. You can't take your drink you just bought here to your seat that's just over there. Great. Brilliant rules made up to just stop people from going out. Again, and just in case anyone's listening, that is what happens. It just puts people off going out. So, God bless the Bell Centre. None of that BS, right? You go where you like. You buy a drink anywhere, you can take it anywhere. You buy a hot dog anywhere, you can take it anywhere. Just a slick operation. I mean, granted, there's obviously some overpriced food in there. The concession stands up top. The pizzas, might have been made 6 months ago. Maybe they were bought for resale. Maybe they were bought somewhere else and smuggled out of the arena by a scalper who... I don't know. But so if you like the Bell Centre, a little tip, in the basement, there is what is, I believe, like Habs restaurants. Habs, like smoked sandwich shop, and Habs burgers and Habs hot dogs, and most shockingly to me, Habs sushi. I never expected to have the best sushi I've had in about a year in a hockey arena. But oh my God, I got a poke bowl. Poke? I've never known what it is. Is it poke or poke? Again, message me, please. Poke or poke bowl, a bowl of sushi mixed with rice and stuff. Basically sushi that's in a bowl. You know what it is. So absolutely incredible sushi. And I'm there, it was so cheap as well. Cheaper than any sushi that I can get anywhere near where I live. I couldn't believe it. My father-in-law was sitting eating sandwiches. Going, how is it we're inside a hockey arena where they could have jacked up all the prices? And yes, the concession stands, the prices are jacked up. But down the bottom, and again, even if you're not a Habs fan, you can't diss the quality of the food. So I, having had this just amazing experience watching just 20,000 people going absolutely crazy watching this hockey game. I mean, I may have mentioned this before, but I spent many years not into sport in any way, shape or form. Partly because I always associated sport with, as a child, being kind of picked on for being crap at it. I associate sport or associated football with, being picked last and being shouted at for being terrible and being bullied relentlessly just for being awful at every sport. So as a result, I just associated sport with horrible jock type, aggressive, macho, toxic masculinity, like that's bullies basically is what I associated it with. So, and again, also because I'm fucking lazy, and to be frank, as a child, preferred to sit around watching videos. But my children have got me into sport, and I have one of the best experiences of my life last year was going to see a Premiership football game, because my youngest son River is mad into soccer. We went to see Crystal Palace play Wolves, an absolutely phenomenal game, which I was delighted to see in the Panini sticker album for the Premiership, the new one. That was their game highlight. We saw it was a phenomenal game. So I have become obsessed with sport in that now at the age of 46, it's the most amazing thing to be able to go and escape. I mean, like a lot of you, and I think you've known me well enough to know that I'm inside my own head a lot. I'm overthinking things. I'm stressing about things. My brain is constantly just all over the place. I can't shake thoughts and feelings and negative thoughts a lot of the time. And yet when you're watching a football, i.e. soccer, or a hockey game, you're completely invested in that moment. It's complete sheer escapism. It's basically what I normally would only have when I'm on stage. Like that's my 90 minutes at night is when I get to a break from all the voices in my head and the stress and the trains. That's the and now I've discovered that you can get this from sport. This feeling when you're all together. Anyway, it is, as you know. I mean, again, you're all listening to me going, "Yeah, huh, James? Yeah, we all knew this." But it's amazing. It was just incredible. It did surprise me, the fighting. And I've talked about this before, how bizarre it is that Canada, the most peaceful country in the world, most pacifistic people, have this sport where there's so much violence in it. And I didn't realize quite how much. It was the weirdest thing, again, especially being in the arena when a fight would start and everyone's cheering it on. And I'm sitting there next to my son thinking, I spend my entire life conveying to you that violence is never the answer. And yet here are two people that have essentially had a disagreement in a sporting, let's not forget that word, sporting event. And there are 20,000 people watching. And those 20,000 people are all cheering on the fact that these two highly paid, respectable sporting players are settling this little disagreement with their fists. And it's definitely encouraged, as we all know. And I now understand that I was very surprised to see the refs stand back, because at first I thought, are they standing back because people want the show to go on? They want the fight to go on. But no, I believe it's to do with safety, which I understand. But again, I think I just saw something in the Guardian newspaper today about how is it Cristiano Ronaldo was like suspended from numerous soccer games for like elbowing someone, like it was such a crime. I mean, David Beckham, David Beckham's career never recovered from the fact that his arm went out briefly, or his leg went out, like after someone like dirty tackled him, and he reacted quickly and gently, and to be fair, justifiably. It basically almost sunk his career. People across the UK were burning effigies of him. Now, I know that there was a big game lost because of it, but if you've watched the Beckham documentary, you know what I'm referring to. So you can see how Britain, this highly violent nation, does not put up with violence in sport. And yet, in this hockey game, I saw, basically, and especially on the Saturday night, between the Leafs and the Canadians, there was points when... because what's weird is like, I would notice this. When there was a break in the play, they played the weirdest, like, circus, like, Wurlitzer carousel music. It's like... So what is this? Why are you playing this? It's kind of music that you would expect them to be playing in a break during, like... like a freak show in the 1920s. Like, okay, the bearded lady is leaving, and we'll be back in a moment with the miniature man. In the meantime, and then whenever there's a fight, the circus music doesn't play. It literally goes into heavy metal. So you've got the game going on, and there's a break in the play, because I don't know whether the refs have to watch the video to check if someone's been offside, or it's just a break because there's a break, whatever it is. And it's this weird, it's just carousel, it's just circus music. But then suddenly when the fight started, it's like they had a different playlist. It was like the gloves get ripped off. They start punching each other in the face with their fists. And I should point out properly, because afterwards the guys were like, their knuckles were being massaged, like in ice. They were like icing their knuckles afterwards, like the end of like a Smokey and the Bandit bar brawl. And rather than it being instead it suddenly goes into heavy metal. So it was literally like, breaking the game. Then suddenly a fight breaks out, the gloves go off, and it's like, welcome to the jungle, we're gonna fuck you in the face. Just complete, like carnage. Like, may as well be paying like Pantera, vulgar display of insanity or whatever it's called. I mean, so you cannot tell me that this is not encouraged. It is like not, it is, I don't know, beyond encouraged. I don't know what's a more, how can I place more emphasis on the encouraged? It's as if it's compulsory. I mean, I've been reading lots about like the history of hockey, and I guess there's that movie Goon that's about, when hockey teams have an enforcer whose job it is to basically inflict violence. I mean, it's just staggering to me. Not because, we live in a world, and don't forget, I mean, again, I'm not anti-violence. I'm a UFC fan, right? So I'm all about violence in a particular context. It's just very surprising to me, and it's so contradictory to the Canadian nature. And that's it. Anyway, I've been banging on about this for far too long. The Jumbotron is an incredible thing. There is nothing I loved more than watching the Jumbotron when it jumps around and it shows people's faces. How people go from miserable, like sat there looking absolutely like faces like slapped arses, to the most ecstatic, ridiculous, over-the-top joy in the space of 1 second, simply because there's a camera on their face. It is remarkable. I mean, if a therapist could bag the joy that it emanates or is gifted to a human being by a Jumbotron. Oh my word. I mean, literally we could burn every single self-help book ever. We could eliminate depression. It's insane. Like, why don't we get that same joy when we walk into Best Buy? We went to Best Buy and you see, England referenced for any British listeners, both of you listening back in Dixon's. That's for you, Tim, one of the two British listeners, Tim Andrews, and then the second British listener, Dad. Dixon. But what is it about that? So you see people sat there on their phone, or they're sat there not talking to their partner, or ignoring their child. The dad's sitting there sinking a beer. The child is stuffing their face with sugary, evil cotton candy. I get all candy floss for the two British listeners. And then suddenly there's a camera on you. And it's for a split second, and your faces go from just boredom and misery and depression and alcoholism and face stuffing, just boredom, to ecstatic, just kissing and hugging and laughing, and then boom, back to misery again. It's the weirdest spike in happiness I've ever seen. And again, who knows? I mean, maybe they stay happy for a bit. Maybe it's not just like 5 seconds. It looks like after the 5 seconds, maybe they hug and. I guess best I can describe it is like, I guess it's like the old days with poppers, amyl nitrate, where it's like you get like a 15-second buzz and it's like, oh, back to reality. Anyway, amazing, just an amazing experience. Loved it. There is a bit too much of the kind of, I don't get why there's people holding up signs saying noise. There's usually people standing there holding up signs saying make some noise, which is weird. It's like there's 20,000 people. We'll make a noise when we want to. We're not rats. This isn't follow your leader. In a live show, I have to make the audience laugh, and if they cheer, great, and if they applaud, great, and if they stand and applaud, great. I can't hold up a sign saying laugh, so you don't need to do that. But anyway, it was magnificent. Loved it. And again, hats off to Dream Vacation Tours. I highly recommend it. Absolute bargain. I believe when I say bargain, I mean to me it was a good deal. $800, all in. tickets for an NHL game, tour of Montreal, bus to and from. I mean, basically, to my mind, I can't see how you could actually do it. I can't see how I would get 3 nights in a hotel, gas, and a ticket for less than that. Non-stop snacks, absolutely gorgeous. So had just the most blisteringly good time. And they just treat you, but it's funny, they treat you very nice coming in. Coming out, it's a bit like, herding cattle. But, anyway, so what else happened while I was in Montreal? A very, very quick visit. I got to live a dream and finally went to a Zellers. I know, yeah. Some of you will know I have a few jokes about Zellers that have made me pretty much now just like known for like Zellers references. When it was announced that Zellers were reopening, I must have received, no exaggeration, hundreds of messages telling me. I did once visit a Zellers once before, I should point out. It was February 2020. I was at Ottawa Yuck Yucks did the Zellers joke that I do. And a woman comes up to me after the gig and goes, "Did you know the last Zellers in Canada is actually here in Ottawa?" And I was like, "I did not know that." And she said, "It's closing tomorrow. Tomorrow's its last day." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's incredible. I had no idea there was one." And she said, "Would you like to go?" And I said, yes. And only in Canada, she arrived at my hotel the next morning at 10 a.m. and drove me to the outskirts of Ottawa. And I went to Zellers. And that video of that is actually on YouTube if you want to see it. Type in my name and Zellers. You'll see me entering basically an empty Zellers store where all that's left to sell is the shelving and the clothes that these staff are wearing. And then, of course, Zellers came back. And, of course, I get that it's not really back because, as everyone keeps telling me, without the Zellers Cafe, it's not a real Zellers. And, of course, it's a corporate, nostalgia excuse to rip off people and get more money. And it's the Bay. It's in the Bay. Question, Hudson's Bay. The Bay, it's a Canadian icon of retail. Why are the Bay signs, why have the signs outside the Bay not been replaced in 5,000 years? It's a very strange thing. You're a premium department store selling luxury goods, and yet these signs are basically crumbling, look like relics from Pompeii after the volcano, after Vesuvius erupted. And they are basically just the sign of the Bay, the Hudson's Bay sign, is basically a shitter for pigeons. It just, I couldn't resist. I actually have a collection of Bay signs from all over the country because I'm always flummoxed as me. I go in the stores, they're lovely inside, the staff are lovely. You're selling all these premium luxury goods. And God bless you, Zellers products. But you got Chanel, you got Gucci in there. It's all premium upmarket. You're selling perfumes and aftershave that cost $1,000. Oh, the sign outside now. Fuck the outside. Don't worry about that. No one sees that. Your sign is literally pigeon shit. It's the worst in any mall or high street. It's the worst sign. Maybe they don't care. Also, one in Montreal. So I got to see Zellers, which was lovely. I also went to someone that my father-in-law Barry, whose driveway he plows. She recommended we go to Rubens. Of course, I'd heard of Rubens before many times. We went to Rubens. Mind-blowing. Everyone knows this. The smoked meats they have. The sandwiches just absolutely incredible. We went at lunchtime on the Friday, had Rubens smoked meat sandwiches. My son had a burger. The sandwiches were huge. I should also point out that, again, it's funny when you live in a small city and you go to a restaurant, even if you go to a Starbucks, you order, you wait 15 minutes. Fast food sometimes in Atlantic Canada can take 15 minutes. In a restaurant, you can wait half an hour. I've waited an hour before for food. When you go to a big city, I would say the food arrived. And again, it was a bespoke order in that we had requests and blah, 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 blah. The food arrived hot, perfect, delicious within 4 minutes. And everyone knows this, of course. It's all a numbers game, isn't it? It's more people, so they have more staff, blah, blah, blah. But still, 4 minutes it arrived. The food was absolutely incredible. One of the best meals we'd ever had. And crucially, what was I going to say? This is the problem with, I mean, I'm rambling. We're 35 minutes in, and I've not even got to the questions yet. I've got tons. I haven't even got to the Solar Eclipse stuff properly yet. I've been babbling on about this Montreal trip. We just had so much fun. Pretty much the happiest I've ever been. It's just nice when you can be really happy in life. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Rubens, the food comes. Yes, it was so good though that we literally couldn't. We went back to the hotel. We basically couldn't eat for supper. Me and my son had to go for a swim at like 9 p.m. to try and like get things moving, so to speak. Oh my God, it was, anyway, great meal. Mind-blowing thing happened while we're there. Obviously, the Leafs-Canadiens game on the Saturday night was just incredible. My son, now listen to this. So he, again, 13 years old, he's got amazing tenacity and drive and ambition and just amazes me. When we got back from the Canadiens training ground on a Saturday morning, word on the street was that the Canadiens were going to be practicing at the Bell Centre. So we go there, waiting outside. Long story short, we see Brendan Gallagher come out in his car, Nick Suzuki in a car, Jordan Harris. They wave. My son got pictures. Lovely. We're all happy. Someone, a genius, someone on the bus says, "Why don't you go and stand at that traffic light there? Because the cars have to stop there." Because obviously the players had a big game that night. And again, we didn't want to bug the players, but there's just a bit of give and take, push and pull, blah blah blah. So my son, Hunter, and our new friend, who actually is the gentleman who runs Vintage Pursuit, which is the one in Fredericton, which he works for Stu Kincaid, who owns Vintage Pursuit, full stop. Runs the one in St. John, but it's Sean who manages the one in Fredericton. Sean and my son Hunter, they run to the light. At that exact moment, Cole Caulfield pulls his car up, comes up to the light. They're standing there. My son Hunter is holding his NHL 2023-2024 Topps sticker album. Cole Caulfield is one of the few Canadian stickers that we have in the book. Cole Caulfield winds down his window, signs the sticker. Now, I've been collecting sticker albums my entire life. My first sticker album was Mexico 86, World Cup Mexico 86. I was 8 years old. Never completed it, obviously, because back then I'd get one packet a week and you'd swap the stickers at school in the playground, got need. Now I do all my swaps online because unfortunately I'm not allowed to hang around playgrounds anymore. They put a stop to that, didn't they? The powers that be. 46-year-old men not allowed to hang around in children's playgrounds anymore, handing out stickers to children. It's political correctness gone mad. Oh my God, isn't that funny when people say that? It's political correctness gone mad. It's wokeism. It's wokeism. Complete misunderstanding of what political correctness is. Anytime someone says it's political correctness gone mad, it's generally just, it's always not remotely that. It's wokeism. Yeah, you're not allowed to, not allowed to, I don't know, not allowed to take a toaster in the bath. It's political correctness gone mad. Anyway, so Cole Caulfield signs it. We then go back to the hotel. My son hustles, finds out, he asks someone where the Leafs are staying. And they tell him the Leafs are staying at the Four Seasons. So my son, 13 years old, walks around to the Four Seasons, basically camps out there in the lobby for the next couple of hours. As they all come out, he meets, Matthew Nees, Sheldon Keefe, Martin Jones. He also meets Austin Matthews, who he meets. They shake hands. Austin Matthews also touches his shoulder and signs a piece of paper for my son. John Tavares also meets my son and signs for him. And he comes running back to the hotel in just seventh heaven. He's like, "Oh my God," and we can't believe it. And we're so impressed. And we're just impressed with him. And I'm happy for him. And as a collector myself and a fan and someone who grew up collecting, albeit autographs of movie stars, we're all just so excited. We're buzzing. We go to the game. We're all excited. I'm wearing my Zellers jersey again. Keep bumping into New Brunswickers. We're like, "Oh my God, it's our first NHL game. Oh my God," just beautiful. Oh, he also met the Leafs GM as well, who he had a chat with. Anyway, my son, when we get earlier, he'd also made a sign. We went to a dollar store to get a huge piece of white paper. He made a sign saying, "Mitch Marner, can I have a puck?" Long story short, Mitch Marner comes over to the side. We obviously weren't sitting down there. We were sitting way up high in the gods, which, by the way, best seats in the house up top. On the Thursday night, we were actually in the back row, the very, very back. Same as we were for Premiership. That's where the real people sit. I want to be one of them wankers down bottom with more money than sense. No. Bus trips, mate, and the back row. Anyway, well, actually, to be fair, the bus trip seats were actually very good in the middle. Well, they were still at the top, but, great view. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. But again, Bell Centre, not mucking about. Let my son go and stand at the glass during the practice before the game, warm up, whatever you want to call it. Long story short, Mitch Marner comes over, hands my son a puck. Doesn't get better than that. God bless my sons for introducing me to the genius of sports. I can't believe that I have missed out on that joy for so long. Okay, so that was my weekend, and then then on Sunday, I'm on the bus coming back. So I'm on the bus. The bus goes. The way it comes back is it comes back from Montreal. It's supposed to do a drop off in Woodstock, then Fredericton, then Moncton, then PEI. I say, okay, can I get off in Woodstock, please? They then say, why? And I say, well, I'm going to Florenceville. They said, we'll drop you in Florenceville. So very kind, they dropped me in Florenceville on Sunday. I didn't want to trouble them with where I was staying, so they dropped me in Esso. And then I walked down the side of the highway or the dual carriageway, whatever you call it, to the Amsterdam Inn. Beautiful weather. Amazing just seeing the whole world descending on one of my favourite places. One of my very first gigs when I moved to New Brunswick 10 years ago was Florenceville, Bristol. Fell in love with the place. I remember driving down, when that beautiful wood-covered bridge was open then. It's been shut for 4 years. If there's any politicians listening, anyone with any power, open their give them the money for their covered bridge. Because they need it for travel, transport. They're making the greatest French fries in the world. French fries that are being eaten and served in the Ritz Hotel in London, famously. They've got to get their French fries out. We're cutting out the bridge. And what I love about that bridge, nothing more fun than it's supposed to be one car, but all the time, locals, and I'm a local now, I'm an honorary Carlton County resident, District Carlton North. When two cars try and squeeze through it, that is a joy. But again, not been able to do that for a few years. So basically, the world, it felt like, was descending on Florenceville, Bristol, which again, weirdly, and not properly covered by the media, that District Carlton North was, and indeed Miramichi and Fredericton, the best places to watch the solar eclipse. Shame on the Canadian correspondent who writes for the Guardian newspaper in the UK, who, basically it was all about Mexico and Texas, and then Niagara, not being anti-Canadian and shitting on Ontario, but I was a little bit pleased that Niagara Falls turned out to be a complete washout and complete overcloudy and grey, because you all should have been in bloody New Brunswick. That's where you should have been. So the smart people, and I will say the parking lot at the Amsterdam Inn, it was a joy to behold. Well, the number plates, the license plates, just every single, almost every state in America seems to be represented. Every state, BC number plates, a Manitoba number plates, Saskatchewan number plates, license plates, whatever you want to call them. Just amazing to see all these people flocking there. After the show in the evening, someone came up to me from England who'd come. She said she wanted to, again, she obviously came for the solar eclipse, but she was saying that she wanted to see me live for a long time. And so she got to see the solar eclipse and me and Hadfield, met a guy from Hawaii. It was just amazing. All of us experiencing this thing, this moment in history that, basically only 0.001% of the world's population will see a solar eclipse in their lifetime. And we all got to see it together, this kind of wonder of creation. Well, let's face it, one of the most notable astronomical events of the century. And we got to do it right here in New Brunswick. The whole Colonel Chris Hadfield event thing was devised by an amazing lady by the name of Sharon, who works at the District of Carlton North, who approached me about it. We were introduced, I believe, by Alison Ayton, who works at New Brunswick Tourism. And essentially their big idea was, ingeniously to bring Colonel Chris Hadfield to Florenceville, Bristol, just to kind of give the evening, go out with a bang. You have this amazing, life-changing, once-in-a-lifetime, amazing astronomical experience all together in the afternoon. And then we get to hear from one of the world's, as my British friend Paul Wilson put it, when I was saying to my friends, hey, I'm doing this gig with this really well-known astronaut, he was like, well-known astronaut, you mean the astronaut? And I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. Chris Hadfield really is like a globally like, pretty much one of the only Canadians I think all my friends have heard of, or indeed that they actually know is Canadian. Of course, they've all heard of Jim Carrey and John Candy. They just don't realise they're Canadian because we're not very good at promoting ourselves in this country. But that is a topic for another. Anyway, so Sharon and her team at Florenceville Brisbane, Districts of Carlton North, and Mayor Harvey. So they basically booked me to kind of come and do. I came to do an hour to essentially. I was just the fluffer basically, right? I'm just there to kind of essentially. I kind of thought, to be honest, I was there to just be the person to be on stage while everyone took their seats and everyone was going to be talking over me and ignoring me. So I'll be honest with you, I was absolutely bricking it, and I did work tirelessly for weeks, if not months, to craft a set that was a fittingly, kind of a perfect blend of keynote, inspirational speech, warm up for Colonel Hadfield, plus stand up. And I really did try and kind of create something that wasn't just going to be me telling stupid jokes, but also didn't want it to be too keynotey because he's about to do the real keynote and I haven't walked on the moon yet. So, all these things. So, I worked hard on it, and Sharon worked hard on it. And even though we're in an arena, it was just phenomenal in this ginormous arena. Signature Sound, who did the tech, by the way, did an amazing job. I do a lot of gigs, and I do a lot of gigs with a lot of bad tech. And I've done 2 gigs with Signature Sound in the last couple of months in venues that are very difficult. One being the Port of St. John, which again is very difficult to play due to the sound and the big windows. It's difficult acoustically. And they nailed it, and it was a joy. It was a gig for nurses, and you know how much I love nurses. So that was a joy of a gig. Sit down, and this team at Signature Sound did that. And then when I heard they were doing this, I was like, great, I know I'm in safe hands here. So 1,500 to 2,000 people packed in an arena. Arenas, hard places to, again, we'll shout out to SSI also, who did both of my Harbour Station Arena shows and did it meticulously. It was just a really great feeling, and God bless everyone for actually sitting and listening to me, laughing along. The gig, I would say, went roughly, if I'm going to be a numbers man, 100 times better than I expected. I genuinely thought I was going to be at best ignored. That is a reminder that I should turn those notifications off my computer while I'm recording a podcast. Very unprofessional. Time sensitive, it says. It's an emergency, time sensitive. It's to remind me that I'm seeing Candice Bushnell, True Tales of Sex and the City, tonight at 7:30 Imperial Theatre. In the interest of full disclosure, I am recording this actually on Tuesday, April the 9th. It isn't Wednesday, but we have to, I'll be honest with you. If you're still listening after 47 minutes to Mullinger's Weekly Ramble, I can trust you. I record these on a Tuesday sometimes, pretending it's Wednesday so that it can go out early on a Wednesday. I'm sure you knew that anyway. If you're waking up on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. and there's a podcast waiting and I'm going, it's Wednesday morning, welcome to Mullinger's Weekly Ramble with me, all that bollocks, right? I'm pretty sure you figured out that I wasn't, even though the ADHD sometimes does keep me up at night with racing thoughts, I think you knew I wasn't really recording and uploading this stuff at 2 a.m. So yeah, I'm recording this on Tuesday, and tonight, that's my computer reminding me, it's been a busy few days, isn't it? Yeah, Montreal 3 days, then Florenceville did a big show, which, again, I can now reveal was yesterday. The Solar Eclipse was yesterday while I'm recording this. And tonight I'm seeing Candice Bushnell. Huge fan of Sex and the City. It's not popular to like it, some people say. I say bollocks to that. I absolutely love it. Also like the movies as well. And I like the new season. And just like that. I'm not going to say whether I like the character of Che Diaz because I'm worried it might get misconstrued as I dislike the character of Che Diaz for any other reason other than they are a terrible comedian and that they were also unkind to Miranda. Anyway, this is a very different topic of conversation. So it went to plan. So listen, thank you to everyone who was there last night or on Monday, if we're going back to pretending that I'm recording this on. It was so much fun. Also, massive props to the Amsterdam Inn, where myself and Colonel Hadfield and many other people from all over the world were staying. Beautiful inn. Opened just after COVID, smart time to open. A little nuggets, actually, I should tell you. I got to spend some quality time with Colonel Hadfield, and I will tell you that he is even more of a joy. so full of genuineness and heart, and just what a beautiful man. And a lot of maritime, an honorary maritimer. His middle son studied at Mount Allison. His eldest son went to Acadia. His daughter is working at or studying at Dalhousie. So that's 3 kids in Maritime University. When he was a combat fighter, like when he was like an F-18 combat fighter pilot, he used to fly out of New Brunswick and Halifax and Summerside PEI a lot. Oh, incidentally, I'm going to be in Summerside this Saturday, if anyone knows any people there. And I will point out, in addition to doing the big show we did last night / on Monday in the huge arena, Colonel Hadfield also did a show that morning for 1,500 kids at the Bristol North Carlton High School. Little known fact, his great-grandfather came to... Chris Hadfield also, but incidentally, lived in Crystal Palace in London for a few months, the location of my... where I went to see my first Premiership football game. His great-grandfather came to Canada from England in 1910. And a little known fact that between 1935, I believe, and 1939, I think he said, his father, Austin John Hadfield, was the trainer or coach, or whatever the wording is. Trainer or coach or manager for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And during that time, they won a Stanley Cup. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful fact? After the gig, during the show last night, I told the story about how I once did a gig in the UK promoting New Brunswick to British travel journalists and British travel writers, journalists, and travel agents, and how some of you might remember this, it led to a colossal success for New Brunswick as a whole and the tourism industry in this region when the Sunday Times travel magazine, which is a supplement of a magazine that is read by, I would say, between 3 and 4 million people every Sunday, they did their annual, highly prestigious, highly sought after, highly lauded, and highly anticipated, and indeed a lot of people vie to get in this. They come up with their best travel destinations for the following year. And they had New York in there, little up-and-comer there, a little up-and-comer in the travel game, New York. Pakistan was in there, I believe Mauritius, Maldives, Portugal, and New Brunswick were in there, which, of course, was wonderful. The headline was something like, and it was all directly quoting me from this show. It's go for natural beauty and stay for lobster rolls, says comic and convert James Mullinger. And it listed my perfect day. And there was pictures of Campobello Island. I plugged everything from the Rossay Beach and Rockwood Park and St. John Ale House, Rees Point Pub, Brits in St. John. I mentioned Moosehead. Savour in the Garden at the Kingsbrae. I basically picked up as many places as I possibly could. Chalaronne, I think, was mentioned in there. But most excitingly, it was a huge picture on that page of a church surrounded with beautiful trees in fall or autumn, if you're listening in England, in Woodstock. Now, that's exciting in itself. What made it more exciting was the cover of this prestigious, read by millions of people, highly sought after travel, like industry leader of the travel journalism game. The cover had a beach in Mauritius, like a forest in New Zealand, and that church in Woodstock. It made the cover. And I told that story because there's a few laughs in it, and it also gives everyone a sense of pride. And obviously, being in Carleton County, it made sense to do it there. Anyway, straight after the show, I get approached by this couple by the name of Carlos and Celia from Mexico. They moved to New Brunswick during COVID, I believe, they said, during 2-3 years ago, and they live in Woodstock. They moved there from Mexico, better quality of life, blah, 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 all the reasons that so many of us moved to New Brunswick. And they came up to me and they said, we related to lots of the show as like you, newcomers, people that moved from away from a very different place for a better life here. And they said, not only can they see that church steeple from their house, but in true New Brunswick fashion, they said they know the carpenters who fixed that steeple. Isn't that beautiful? And I mean, after a big gig like that, a lot of people were kindly asking for pictures with me, which I never, ever, ever stop appreciating and enjoying. That was the moment where I'm like, Carlos, Celia, come here. I need my picture taken with you. These two people, amazing people that, like me, chose to move to this beautiful place, know the carpenter who fixed the church steeple from Woodstock that has been my pride and joy. Okay, I'm 54 minutes in. I apologise for talking so much, but like I say, I mean, listen, I'm happy. I hope you've been happy listening to this. I do have some questions to answer. Before I get into the questions, let me very quickly say I'm in Summerside, PEI, performing at the Scott Macaulay Performing Arts Theatre Centre this Saturday night. I'll be completely frank, tickets are not moving. Tickets are not selling well. I don't know why. Maybe PEI hate me. Maybe I have come across problems before where I've made jokes about PEI and stand-up specials, and some people in tourism haven't taken kindly to it because, you can't make jokes. I'm not a comedian that believes you can't make jokes. If someone wants to take offence to a joke about a place, fine. I thought we were bigger and better than that. And I think I've also, I've tried my best to promote the region as best I can, so I thought the odd joke wouldn't hurt. Anyway, whatever it is, tickets aren't moving. If you know any people in PEI who would like a laugh, please tell them to come and see me. Saturday night, links on my website, Scott Macaulay Performing Arts Centre. It's next to the College of Piping. It's a beautiful theatre that deserves to be supported, even if you don't want to support me. It was set up it opened just before the pandemic. They haven't had a chance to really get things off the ground. And unlike certain other theatres around, it is not crumbling. It is brand spanking new, and it is beautiful. So I basically guarantee you 100 minutes of laughs. And if you don't, if you friends come to see me in Somerset PEI this weekend and they don't like the show, you can write to me and I'll refund them. How's that? And that's not a false promise. I genuinely think anyone if you've listened to 56 minutes of this bollocks, if any friends of yours, if you've listened to this shit, then you, like me, you will know good people, and I think they'll enjoy the show. Okay, questions. Okay, I'm going to race through these. Sean and Jennifer Mooney. Sean Mooney, thank you very, very much for this wonderful question. Many of these pods I regularly listen to centre around comedy, and a theme that comes up frequently is cancel culture and self-censorship, and the role stand-up comedy should play within the public arena and shining a light on the absurd and finding humour in our darkest corners. My question is twofold. In this current environment, as you are crafting a new set or even dusting off your greatest hits, do you ever self-censor? Eliminate something you find funny because it may not receive the same response from the public? And is there a topic you think comedians should give more attention but don't because of the risk of help be received by the audience? Excellent question. I have mixed feelings about all of this. I do not like to offend or upset simply because at my very low level of being a career comedian, I actually don't like to upset people anyway, to be honest. I believe if you bought a ticket for a show, I want you all to leave happy. Now, those are also the shows that I do, and it's why people come and see me. If you go and see Jimmy Carr or Frankie Boyle, you kind of know what you're going to get. And it's because you like offensive comedy. You can't go to that and decide that you're offended by a joke that Jimmy Carr makes because it affects you. You've laughed at everyone else's misfortune or whatever else. Similarly with Gervais. I don't think you can go to a Gervais show and argue that it was offensive. I don't necessarily think, again, it's all so it's all so individual, it's all so subjective. I mean, so for example, I don't particularly I do not like Dave Chappelle's what I believe to be transphobic material, partly because, and again, this is not a case of me being subjective about humor, because I hate it when people say things aren't funny, because it's like, well, you might not find it funny, but millions of people did laugh. My problem with some of Dave Chappelle's trans material is actually no one is laughing. They are cheering, because they are presumably, they share those opinions. They're not actually laughing. I would never deign to say that there's comedians over the years that maybe I watch and I don't laugh at particularly. I don't know, I'm thinking of some examples. Maybe Dane Cook, maybe Larry the Cable Guy, even people that everyone loves, like Tom Segura. I probably shouldn't be naming names, but these are people who I admire their craft, would never say they're not funny, and I would never say they don't deserve the success because there's no such thing. In comedy, you can't say someone doesn't deserve their success, because if they have found success, they deserve that success, because you can't cheat it, you can't fake it, you can't. It's not like Jim Carrey becoming a painter, right? Jim Carrey becomes a painter, and his paintings are worth millions of pounds because he's Jim Carrey. There's no shortcut with comedy. If you're funny, you're funny, and people like you and they come. So there's no such thing as someone not deserving their success. There's no such thing as someone not being funny. I think there is when someone makes comments that no one's laughing at. So do I personally? Yes, is the answer. There are jokes. I had a joke about my misunderstanding of the phrase midget hockey, that it was pointed out to me by someone who would be affected by that word, should we say, that it was upsetting to them that I would perpetuate something that was upsetting to them, and so I stopped doing it. Because I think if you come and see one of my shows, you're coming out for comedy that isn't out to get anyone. I'm the butt of all my jokes, and if ever I become not the butt, I stop doing it. Do I think there should be any topics that are off limits in comedy? No, I actually do not. I think that comedians should be able to address things. There are some people that address it very well. I think some of Ricky Gervais's more recent stuff is shock for shock's sake. I think he sounds a lot like a very, very, very right-wing politician some of the time in his immigration stuff. But then at the same time, he says they're all just jokes, although a lot of the time it is pandering to a particular mindset. One of my favourite comedians is Bill Burr, who I believe, who, let's face it, touches everything, does it all excellently. There was a routine in his show that I saw live in Halifax last year, that I know other people, I have friends who've seen the show in Portland, that found one routine to be, for want of a better phrase, problematic, or just, for us, it was kind of a bit like, not to say he shouldn't do it, not to say it should be banned, not to say he should self-censor, but for us as fans, and it's a routine he has about rape. And this, again, it's not to say that I don't think any topic should be off limits. This particular routine, it didn't sit right. Now, of course, this is why he doesn't have, doesn't allow cameras and phones at his gigs, because presumably this routine, by the time it makes its way to a stand-up special, it will be refined in a way that the laughs or however it's being addressed is more sensitive, more meaningful. The laughs are for the right place at the time, and this is what it takes to get jokes right. So, for instance, when people come and see me at Long Bay Brewery, a lot of what I'm saying would probably, for want of a better phrase, get me, I can't be cancelled because I'm nobody, but they would be arguably, problematic. But that's why the poster says it might be shit. It's his work in progress. When people come in, I say, we're in a safe space. I'm going to say anything. And so really that's what it's all about. You throw all this stuff out there. I see how people react. And I see how I feel about how they react. And if things, and then by the time I get that material to a big theatre, or indeed just take it on the road, I hope that any problems within it have been removed. But to answer, so yeah, I guess I do self-censor, but I don't in those warm-up shows. So if you want to see me off the cuff, off the chart, saying anything, come to Long Bay. And I will point out that the next Long Bay show, plug, is Thursday the 18th of April. Do not come if you like, my clean shows. It will get there, but I need to, get out of there. Okay, questions. What's a Canadian food I think is overrated? From Kendra Murray. Thank you for that question. I'll be honest, I want to love fiddleheads because I want to be a New Brunswicker, but I got to be honest, they're a bit minging. The only person that makes them nice is Echo from Enshan from N Sushi. He made the best New Brunswick sushi ever. And it was sushi with a fiddlehead, and that was the only time I've ever tasted a fiddlehead that was good. Great question, thank you. Chelsea, is that Chelsea that was there yesterday in the front row at the Colonel Hadfield gig? And you were wearing a beautiful, I believe, pink dress or outfit or coat, and you were exuding so much laughter and warmth, if this is the same person, I just want to say thank you. You were every now and again during a gig, even big gig like that, 1,500, 2,000 people. There's a person often who will exude so much positivity that it really makes me happy and warms my heart, and I focus on that person. And I think it might have been you, Chelsea. The other person actually doing that last night was Jeff McAloon, who was also, I think, a few seats behind you. Anyway, her question is, how do I manage to get past fear and nerves? Assuming I have any, of course. I have loads of nerves. Yesterday, absolutely petrified. I want it always to go well. I get through past those nerves by just reminding myself that I've done this a million times, and if it doesn't go well, it's not the end of the world. But the thing is, I'm desperate for it to go well. And you know what? The only really way I get past it, to be honest, Chelsea, is time. And it just, that's the last night, the gig was starting at 5:45, whether I liked it or not. And that's when it started. And I just had to do it. And I was terrified that it would go badly. And it did not, thanks to you. How has New Brunswick changed or altered my sex life? That's from Derek Pladewell. How has New Brunswick changed or altered my sex life? I guess, well, it's quite personal. And again, it's not my place to bring my wife into my silly job. But I will say we see each other now. And in London, we didn't get to see much of each other. So Sarah Butland has asked, what are my kids reading these days and what happened to their YouTube careers? Good question, Sarah. I love bonding with my kids over things. Now, I guess with my oldest son, it's hockey. With my youngest son, it's soccer. Two things I'd never done before or watched before. We did indeed make YouTube videos together about trading cards a few years ago. They somewhat grew out of it. They're also somewhat embarrassed of me in that they don't really like being seen out in public with me. Least of all on YouTube with me. And again, so I've kind of been asked to take those videos down. They grew out of doing stuff with their old dad like that. And so unless dad's paying to take them to a soccer game or an NHL game, that ain't cool. Any more questions? Sorry, we've gone on too long. I promised I would answer this question. What's the wildest party I've ever been to and why? Lisa Weir asked that last week and I trailered it and I said, I'll answer it next week. I've been to many wild parties. Many wild things have happened. I will tell you the wildest event I've ever been to. I think I wrote about this in my book, but it was Stella McCartney's wedding. So a party, any party that has Chris Martin, Madonna. I guess it wasn't the wildest. I mean, I wasn't particularly wild at it, other than singing Elvis All Shook Up and doing a pelvic thrust in Paul McCartney's face. So he was wild there, and I don't think I'm breaking any laws by sharing this. But when we arrived at the pub on the Friday night, Kate Moss was visibly doing a lot of the old Devil's Dandruff, and then which I thought was surprising, I guess, but I guess not, because she was kind of, in a celebrity sphere, and we were the interlocutors, we were the outsiders. But then when we arrived at the wedding the next morning, I arrived at the wedding, we were past a whiskey, we're in Scotland, in the Isle of Bute, near, interestingly, Rothesay in Scotland, and past the whiskey, and I went to go to the bathroom and I couldn't get in. I was waiting outside their fridges and I could just hear all this kind of sniffing. And then Kate came out with another with a rock star, actually, who I guess is not known for this, so I better not mention her. But and I thought, well, that's odd. She looks amazing, and has seemingly been doing that the night before, and is doing it first thing in the morning. Seen a bit much. Anyway, that was the maddest party I ever went to. Wildest. I'm going to, next week, here's a promise. Next week, I'm going to highlight this. Next week, I'm going to tell you the top 5 wildest parties I've been to. Shelby Larry commented she thinks she knows that, I believe, is the one where she thinks that, I woke up to find an old man pleasuring me, something which I have been talking about in these work in progress shows. Kelly Etheridge, have I ever done that exercise where you're forced to talk without using your hands? No, I am often asked to sit on my hands by directors. Schubert asked if I've been called Jimmy or Jim. Yeah, occasionally people call me. Marshall Button often says that I should be called Jimmy Mullinger. But no, Jeff Keeler, the Keeler family, by the way, greatest events organisers anywhere. It was the Keeler family of the Pogue Logan Productions, the geniuses behind the Sussex Drive-In shows. He asked, why does my accent sound both sophisticated and trashy at the same time? That is the best question I've ever been asked, and one I absolutely love. I do have my voice is a stupid mix of Downton Abbey and Ray Winstone in The Gentleman. I think I might be saying that. It's a mix of my upbringings of like being aspiring to being kind of my parents' kind of Thatcherite, maybe like posh English desires, with the reality of our low income. I don't know. Anyway, record number of gigs in one night from Shelby Lowry, 6 or 7 maybe. I think I did 6 or 7 in London and Montreal. And that's it. I think I'm done. Okay, longest podcast I've ever done. I'm always complaining about podcasts being too long. But look at me. I'm not going to drag it on anymore. Hour and 10 minutes. Way too long. I apologise. This is the longest one. Oi, oi, oi. It's the longest one I will... Oi, oi. This is the longest one I will ever do. I'll be back next week. Keep sending me your questions. Email me, comedy@jamesmullinger.com. Thanks for listening. And, yeah, I'm sorry. I've just been happy, which is nice, I guess. Okay, love you. Tell your friends about my Summerside gig this Saturday night. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of week and weekend, everyone. And if you've got any questions, doesn't have questions about me, questions about your lives, anything I can help with. I want you all to have a weekend this weekend like the one I just had, one that has just left me feeling inordinately happy. Thank you.
Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.